on this, yeah. Cop the script and lost to getting, yeah. I am not the one I think you. Yeah, hey, hold up, yeah. Anything you want on this dish. Cop the script and lost to getting rich. Yeah, why you even talking about your wrist? Yeah, I am not the one I think you miss, Hey, what I need go for? I've been taking shots and bleeding purple from the thorn. I've been in the kitchen with the sauce spilling over. I'm that golden child, I got it in my soul, Hold up, I forgot my manners. They call me the one, it's nice to meet you, man. Think a little birdie told me y'all been lost. Yeah, lacking management, in need of a boss, it ain't me, that's what I can't be. I open up and let that stain see, till he paint me. This kind of rap, it really pains me. They try to shame me, when I say I mean my family, that's in the game, see. Take the Christian, not the name, and because they aim it. You think it's blocking all your fame, and they think you lame. I wonder if he took those thorns all up in his brain, and just so I can fit the picture and play the game, yeah, that's why they framed him. Oh, I get it, that's a dead horse, let me leave it alone, let me see my course, let me turn away, enter from my course, it ain't none of my business and none of yours. Yo, I been the one, but I'm not the one to sit back. Hand me lines, you best believe a bit that. Look the same, I'm broken off like Kit Kat. You too close and I ain't really with that. Please step back or maybe get a tic tac. Pick a side and stop it with the flip flop. Till and drive, no, I don't need a pit stop. Keep on asking, you gon' make me pissed off. All these rappers done went off and clicked up. Now they talking all about the missed stuff. Drop the ball and I'm the one that picked up. Not for y'all, I did it for the sick ones. Stop me now, I think I'm hurt feelings. Dead to me, so how you make a killing? See behind the scenes of what you're reeling. It ain't nothing like what you can reel in. Go ahead, check to God if you can feel it. Promise you gon' perish in the real end. I'ma stand and steady with the praising. This ain't feasting, this is barely grazing, I think I'm finally ready to talk. But nothing I can say gon' make you change how you walk. You gon' have to see the wound scars lining in chalk that made a man leave his gold to wanna follow the rock. I'm saying, anything you want on this, alright. Yeah. Anything you want on this, yeah. Anything you want in this, yeah. Anything you want in this, okay, yeah. I got the gold, yeah. Got it in my soul, yeah. I got the gold.
Alright, so that's squats done. They are a little bit unstable, the stands, so that's why I put the weights down to stabilise them, but chalk and cheese compared to the wheelie bins. I'm going to take the weights off now and then going to see what it's like to bench with.
I've been taking shots and bleeding purple from the thorn. I've been in the kitchen with the sauce spilling over. I'm that golden child, I got it in my soul. Hey, hold up. Talking about your wrist. I am not the one I think you miss. What I need go for? I've been taking shots and bleeding purple from the thorn. I've been in the kitchen with the sauce spilling over. I'm that golden child, I got it in my soul. Hey, hold up. Hey, hold up. Got it in my soul. Hey, hold up.
So, while I eat this fairly nutritious dinner of quinoa, roasted veg and turkey, I'm going to talk about the squat stands and whether I think I made a good investment with them. So, first of all, the price. I spent $189.99 on them from eBay. I've actually seen them going for a lot more expensive than that now, so I think I got in at the right time, luckily. overall, I think the squat stand is really, really good, and obviously compared to the wheelie bins, it's amazing. They are sturdy, but the only thing is it was a little bit windy and they were moving around a little bit, so that did play on my mind a little bit. So I did put the 20 kilo plates down just to secure it, and that did put my mind at ease with that. And in terms of actually the use of it, so unracking it, racking it, that was all pretty straightforward. I wasn't really worried about that. And the fact that I just don't have to good morning the weight out anymore is good. So in terms of benching with the stands, again, pretty good, pretty sturdy. The only thing that I was a bit apprehensive about was when I was re-racking, I had quite a small target to aim at. So obviously throwing 100 kilos over your head and sort of hoping it lands in the rack is not ideal. So I'm going to have to sort of get used to that a little bit. But yeah, the stand itself was absolutely fine, very secure, and obviously was the right height, so I can obviously go right down to bench and then use it to squat as well. So that's perfect for that. The only issue I really had was actually with the bench itself. Now I'm not saying I'm the widest person or the tallest person, but this bench was just far too small for me, or is far too small for me. So my back, I can sort of feel I'm falling off each side, so I'm very unstable when benching. I'm also falling off of it with my head, as in my head's falling off the back of it, and my bum is like right down the very end of it. So it's just quite a small bench. Looking at it, it doesn't look too small, but actually when you're lying on it, it's not great. Compared to like a competition standard bench or just a flat pad, yeah, it's not brilliant, but it's going to work on my stability, and when I actually go back to benching with a normal bench, it's going to be brilliant. So it will do for now. I'll be able to continue to bench, and it's much better than doing floor press and stuff like that, so I'm still grateful for that. And the bench wasn't too expensive, it was close to £100, and that's the real reason I got it, because the competition standard benches are really expensive. So maybe something for the future to invest in if I want to continue to train outdoors, but that's probably unlikely. So I'm going to quickly talk about my diet as well. Over the last sort of few weeks I've been really, really good on my diet, but yesterday was the first sort of cheat meal I had. So I actually got Deliveroo, and I got chicken skewers, pita, hummus, tzatziki, basically Greek food. Now, ordinarily in itself that's not unhealthy, but it's just the fact that I couldn't work out the calories and I don't know what oils they use and that sort of thing. And I did weigh in over what I've been normally weighing in this morning. So I do sort of count it as a cheat meal. But overall, the diet has been going really, really well. And while I've been in lockdown, I've just been really focusing on cooking my own meals and tracking everything. So I'm around about 99 kilos still at the moment. So I'm still well on course for hitting 93 kilos in the next few weeks, because that's what I plan to compete at in the next few months or whenever we get out of lockdown. So, I'm an idiot. I got nominated for this Neck It challenge yesterday, so I decided to do it today, but I didn't really fancy downing a beer because I haven't drunk in well over a month, and I'm about to deadlift. I don't think they really mix, or they do, I don't know, but I'm not going to do that. So I decided to down a BCAA can with some creatine, but me being the idiot that I am, I completely forgot to turn the microphone on the new camera, so basically all that footage is wasted. So I got nice and gassy and felt like throwing up for nothing. I don't know, maybe once I've deadlifted I'll grab a couple of cans and, you know, scull them, and, you know, because I'm pretty cool like that. I'm pretty crazy, so you know, after deadlift I like to sort of, you know, let my hair down and just, yeah dude, yeah. So throughout this session I'm going to go over exactly what I want from the garden gym, because it's not complete yet. Once everything is complete, what I want it to actually look like and what other equipment I want to get. And then after the session I'm going to talk about the costing and how much it all comes to, just in case you wanted to build a garden gym as well. So obviously at the moment I've got everything which is essential for squat, bench and deadlift. Got the bar, the plates, platform, squat rack to squat and bench on. But I think eventually I need to get something which is going to help me do more accessory work. So I really want to get some Olympic handles, but everywhere I've looked at the moment is just out of stock. So that is the next thing on my list. Obviously I need to get the right collars as well for that, but that'll just open up so many doors in terms of accessory work that I'll be able to do if I can get those. So if there was ever a sign that the diet's going well, I've just had to go down a notch on my belt. Normally I'm sort of 6 notches over, had to go down to 5. Still haven't got any abs though. So the next thing I want to get, after obviously getting the Olympic handles, because that's the lifting stuff sorted, I need a little bit of protection from the elements. Obviously the weather is really nice at the moment, but if it's pissing down with rain, I'm not going to be able to do anything really outside in terms of using the barbell anyway, because I don't want it to rust. So the next step is to buy a gazebo, and that's going to go in this corner of the garden. Just need to work out the dimensions and everything and actually make sure it will fit and make sure it will be able to be secured down. But that is the plan, and they can go from sort of anywhere to 60 quid to like 500 quid. So I want to find somewhere in between which is going to be sturdy and it's also going to protect from the rain, but I don't want to completely break the bank. Oh my god, I'm so unfit. Let's do the second set. So the next thing I want to get is pretty simple really, it's just resistance bands. I've got that one down there which I'm borrowing off of Craig, but I want to get a proper set of different resistances just so I can use it for mobility work, but also use it for a bit of back work and that sort of thing, and maybe do some chest flies with it. So very useful tool. That's next on the list. So after resistance bands, I'm also thinking about getting some bumper plates, because although I'm really grateful that I've got the cast iron 25s here, they're quite heavy when they drop, and I think bumper plates will just spread the mass a little bit, and I'm just a little bit worried about the floor here because it's already sort of denting in a little bit even with the padding. So I think bumper plates would probably counteract that, or I hope it will. So even if I just get 2 lots of 25 kilo plates for around about 100 quid, maybe it might be a little bit more than that, I don't know, but that would definitely help, and then I can just load up the normal 20s alongside that. Okay, deadlift's done. Let's go and talk about how much all of this is going to cost. Oh, I forgot I need to do this neck nomination. Thanks for the nomination, Luke. Because I'm going 2 months without drinking any alcohol, I'm going to be necking a pint of protein and then a pint of water for hydration. So here we go. Cheers. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the costing of building a garden gym, whether it's worth it, how much I've spent on it already, how much I'm planning on spending on it, and yes, all the graphic design work is my doing, so if you need a graphic designer post-lockdown, link in the description. Okay, so kicking off, Powerbar. How much did that cost me? 150 quid. I got that off my mate Jacob. I was going to get that before the lockdown anyway, because I wanted to use a Powerbar in my training, because I was planning on competing in a federation which uses Powerbar, so I just thought it was a good investment. Next is the plates. How much did that cost me? Absolutely nothing, because they were very kindly lent to me by the Strength Lab, which is a gym in Bristol. Very, very generous of them just to lend me their weights to look after and use in this lockdown period. Matting, that cost me £47.96, and I got that from a company called Canon UK, and they are 40mm, 50cm squared, very durable, next day delivery, brilliant company, I highly recommend them. The squat stands is what I've had the most trouble with because they've just taken forever to get here, and they set me back £179.99. So they're actually quite expensive for what they were, but they're so much better than obviously using wheelie bins, and they're a lot safer, and I could obviously use it for bench press as well, which brings me onto the bench. I spent £119.99 on this, and to be honest with you, I don't think it was worth it because the bench I got is not great, as I mentioned. I think, to be honest with you, if I looked a little bit longer, I probably could have found something a little bit cheaper and a little bit better, and I probably should have looked at the dimensions, but there we are, we've got it now, we're able to use it, it's just about doing a job. So that cost me £119.99. And then the collars, I haven't got those yet because obviously I've got the wrong ones, but they cost me £8.99. I've now purchased some ones that are the right size, and all of that together comes to £497.94. So that is what I've spent on the gym so far. So here is a list of some of the things I mentioned yesterday about what I want to get and what I plan to get probably next month, because I've already spent quite a lot of money this month. The first one is a gazebo, and that is just, as I mentioned, to cover that area just in case it starts raining. If it's really windy, it just blocks out a little bit of the wind, and just generally if it's bad weather, it's nice to have a little bit of shelter. These really do vary in price, and because I've never had a gazebo, I don't know what the quality is like. So they go from like 25 quid, which looks like you just plonk it down and hope for the best, but there are ones that are sort of 155 to 200 quid, which look like they can get strapped down, and they've got side panels as well, so you actually block out some of the rain and wind. So I think that's probably what I'm going to go with, something more along the lines of £155. I mean, I could start with 25 quid because that's a bit of a, you know, there's not much risk in that. I can sort of get that, and if it's really bad, it's like, okay, I've taken a hit, but I haven't spent 155 quid on it. So Olympic dumbbell handles, these, as I mentioned, are going to be really good for accessory work, and I think they're just, to be honest with you, vital. That's like one of my priorities with what I want to get in. And ordinarily they cost about 30 quid, but obviously with everyone ramping up their prices, it seems like the cheapest is actually about 60 quid. So I've been on Facebook Marketplace and I've put in some sort of offers and said I can go and collect them locally, but they're all about 60, 80 quid. So I think overall I'm probably going to have to settle with spending 60 quid around that if I actually want to get some of those. But yeah, I think it'll be a worthy investment if I actually manage to get some. The next is resistant bands. That's kind of speaks for itself. I mentioned yesterday why I want to get those. They're about 30 quid. They shouldn't be too hard to get hold of. Yeah, that is what it is. Right, bumper plates. Again, this would just be a luxury, I think, and just protect the patio or protect the outside flooring. Yeah, but these are very expensive as well, and I think the last time I looked they were about 120 quid, and that's for two 25 kilo plates or 20 kilo plates, I can't remember, but they're going to be over 100 quid if I want to get a pair of bumper plates which are good quality. But again, this is more of a luxury item rather than things I'm necessarily gonna get. It's just, you know, in an ideal world. So the next thing, which maybe is a bit more of a priority, is getting some plywood, and this is relatively cheap. I can get this for around about 24 quid, and that would be sort of 2.4 meters by 1.4 meters, which will be enough to sort of cover the area that I'm going to be deadlifting, and it's just going to protect the floor. So I'll put that underneath the rubber matting, a bit like we had in the garage gym in Craig's place. I just need to get some of that. So overall, if I was to total all of that up, it comes to £886.94p. So obviously that's a pretty big number for what is a pretty thrown together garden gym. So it's got me thinking, is it actually worth purchasing all of this equipment, which I'm potentially only going to be using for a few months? Definitely only really in the summer. When it gets to winter, I'm not going to be wanting to go outside in the freezing cold really, especially if I haven't got the gazebo. So is it really worth it? I would probably say no, and I think there's so many other things you can do to get your workouts in, be that body weight or just equipment that you have in the house. But for me, I just love training SBD, and I love being able to squat, bench and deadlift. That's why I fell in love with powerlifting. I just love those movements. So if I can get things which can really complement that, then I'm going to do it, which is why I've bought the squat stand, the bench, you know, the power bar and everything. But I think overall it's probably not worth it for your everyday gym goer. Just because £886, that's like in some places a year's membership in a gym. So I don't know, I think it's better off maybe just seeing out the lockdown and then going back. But for me personally, I'm willing to spend the money, and I think if you're willing to spend the money on it, then go for it, because at the end of the day you're going to be able to train like you have been in the gym, and you'll be able to make progress still. So it's really putting a price on what you value your gains to be, and that's obviously my value, albeit very expensive. So pros, get jacked. Cons, money. There we go. So I hope you find that fairly useful if you are thinking about building a home gym. Just to give you an idea of the costing for different stuff. I'm not saying go out and get all of that stuff, because obviously it's quite expensive, and a lot of people just don't want to spend that sort of money or can't afford to spend that sort of money, and that's fine. There's so many alternatives that you can do, but if you have the money and you're willing to spend it and it's going to make you happy, go for it. Anyway guys, I'm going to sign out the video now. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Please leave it a like if you have, subscribe if you're new, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.